Didn't beep. They were on the street. All right, so the basic is, of course, sine, cosine, tangent, SOHCAHTOA. You remember this from geometry, everybody? Okay, you should. Remember, trig is just a fraction, okay? Now, when I start these up, I always like to look at my theta, and that is the Greek letter theta. This would be my opposite side right here, wouldn't it? Because it's opposite the angle. This is your adjacent, okay? And of course, the hypotenuse. Now, one thing happens, and students really don't catch this, is that can change, okay? If this is the angle, okay, then this is gonna be your opposite side, and this is gonna be your adjacent side. Hypotenuse always stays the same, but you know your opposite and adjacent change, depending on where the angle is. Everybody see that, okay? So that's number one problem students get confused on. So sine, cosine, tangent, opposite hypotenuse, adjacent hypotenuse, and opposite and over adjacent. Of course, this is for right triangle trigonometry. We are going to add a couple other guys, and that is cosecant, secant, and cotangent. They go right along with sine, cosine, and tangent. These are sisters. Sine and cosecant are sisters. Cosine and tangent, or better yet, the theme for the day, boyfriend and girlfriend, making out. Oh, never mind. So there are 6. You probably only know 3, sine, cosine, tangent, right? Did they go into cosecant, secant, and cotangent in geometry? Probably not, okay? It was a little more basic. We're gonna go a little deeper. Now, the cool thing about those is that they are just the reciprocal. You're just gonna flip it. Cosecant is, instead of sine, the opposite over hypotenuse, cosecant is hypotenuse over opposite. Secant is hypotenuse over adjacent, and cotangent is adjacent over opposite. They are inverse of each other. We're gonna flip them. And basically, your assignment tonight will be to find 6 trig values of a given right triangle. And that's all we're gonna do today. I got about 3 to do with you. And then we're gonna turn you loose and you'll have a couple of problems to do. Easily be done before you even leave today. You can submit those and away we go. So the only really basic new thing is right there on the smartboard right now. Cosecant, secant, and cotangent. We'll abbreviate those, okay? So your cosecant is going to be CSC, your secant, SEC, and we're not talking about the league down south, and cotangent. This PDF is up online, and have a video up there shortly too here. Does everybody feel okay about that? You ready to try one? Okay, here we go. We're going to find the 6 trig values of this guy right here. Look at it. All right, as I said, the first thing I like to do is label your sides. So here is my angle. So right across is the opposite. Here is the adjacent, and of course the hypotenuse is always our longest side. All right. See if you can find sine, cosine, and tangent now. Remember, we don't need our calculator. These are pretty straight up and simple. Question?
Just want the fraction, or do you want?
Just that, yeah.
Okay.
That's all. Leave it as a fraction. Opposite over hypotenuse. 7 over 25. Adjacent over hypotenuse. 24 over 25. 25. Tangent, opposite over adjacent. Whoops, that's 7 over 24. Okay, now, the three new ones, okay? Sine, cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, and cotangent of your angle. Now, if you list it like this, it's gonna be easy. If you try to mess it all around, you're gonna get confused. Sine, cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, cotangent. Now, why, it's easy, what do I gotta do? Just flip them. So this is 25 over 7. This is like taking candy from your brother on Halloween. Pretty easy stuff. Boom. 6 straight values. How we doing? Everybody okay? Let's let be truthful. Half of it you already know, right? The new part is cosecant, secant, cotangent, right? Do we need our calculators for any of this stuff? No. When do we need our calculators? Well, if we're finding an angle, or we have an angle on the side, we gotta find the other side. That's the only 2 times we ever need a calculator. Again, if we're finding an angle, we need our calculator. If we have an angle and one side trying to find the second side, that's the other time we need a calculator. All right. See what you can do. What do I want to do first? Label the sides. Okay, so here's my theta up here. So 30 is going to be what? It is going to be the opposite. Right? The adjacent is what? 16. And here's your hypotenuse. Give me all 6. Sine, cosine, tangent. Soak your toe, go soak your toe up if you stub your toe up. Get some Chipotle for lunch today. A little left over. I only ate half my bowl last night, so I have some for lunch today. Yum, yum. Bogo chicken tonight. 10 for 10 on Tuesday. Yeah. How y'all do sleeping in? What's the day you guys gonna do the government shutdown one?
Next Tuesday.
That day you don't get sleeping. Are you sleeping in every other one?
Yep.
So next Tuesday and Wednesday you got.
Why Tuesday and Wednesday?
Was it hard?
I think both days.
I'm supposed to come in.
Well, actually, let's start right now.
Is it both days next week, Tuesday, Wednesday for you guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
You were there like 7 o'clock.
I walked
That's
in.
being dedicated.
I walked in at 9:30.
I walked in, he's like, can you see this morning? I said, I didn't miss my bed. He goes, I can tell you didn't need that extra time to get ready. And I was like, you're so mean.
Well, that's even bigger as a compliment. You still look fantastic.
I don't know.
All right, sine, opposite over, hypotenuse is gonna be 30 over what? 34 adjacent.
So far, right, 16 over 32, 4?
Yep, and go ahead, Logan.
Oh, tangent, that's gotta be 16 over 30.
Opposite
30 over 16.
over adjacent.
Dang it. I was stupid for that 16.
All right, listen right now, I don't care if you simplify those, just make sure you're getting the fractions, everybody get it? Okay? Now, if we're trying to find those angles, that's when we need our calculator, but we're not. All right, what's the next 3, see if you can get them. So secant, and cotangent, this is pretty straight up also, isn't it? You just gotta list them this way. Cosecant, secant, cotangent, you list them that way, this is a piece of cake, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 34 over
30.
34 over 16 over, and you're done. I'm gonna do one more and that's it. Is that fair, everybody? Everybody feeling okay? I think this should be, like I said, half of it's review, the other half is just a little new. Cosecant, secant, cotangent, but the rest should be a review. Everybody feeling good? Okay? All right. Last one. Okay? What's different about this one? Okay, so we're missing a side, we're missing the opposite, so we gotta find that. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Don't make that common mistake of putting 5 and 10 for A and B. Where does 10 go here? It's the C. You're gonna have to simplify, if it's a radical, which it will be, simplify it. See, just start and see if you can find the opposite side to start with. Okay, so this is gonna be my opposite, this is my adjacent, this is gonna be my hypotenuse. Decimals will be wrong.
I'll get you.
So get out of the habit of decimals. We're gonna simplify that. You should get b squared is equal to the square root, b squared is equal to 75.
That's what I got.
Then you gotta take the square root of both sides. Okay, so b is gonna be equal to the square root of 75, it's gonna be a positive number.
No.
Can I simplify that? I can.
Wouldn't it be b squared?
He put the third.
I put the square root, b squared is equal to 75, then I take the square root of both sides.
That makes sense. I see what you just, I see.
Anybody getting that simplified for me?
Gotta be decimal.
No, it's, no, yeah, it is a decimal, you put a calculator, yeah.
I'll make it.
How about 3 times 25, is that 75?
Yep.
What's 25? Is it a perfect square?
Yeah.
So what does the square root of 75 simplify to?
3 over 5 squared.
5 square roots of 3. Do we need more explanation there?
How did you get the square root of 75?
Okay, so 75, what does it factor to? 25 times 3, right? Does that help you? What's the square root of 25?
5.
Do we need to review simplifying radicals again? I hope not. Okay, now you're ready. Okay, so we got 5, this is 5 square roots of 3, so write out your sign. Your sign is what? Opposite, which is 5 square roots of 3 over 10. We can simplify that a little bit because 5 over 10 is really 1/2, isn't it? So it really ends up being the square root of 3 over 2. Cosine is what? Adjacent over hypotenuse, which would be 5 over 10. Let's go ahead and simplify that too. 1/2. Your tangent is what? Opposite over adjacent. And that simplifies down to just the square root of 3.
I think it comes up with these names, tangent, cosine, sine. Where did they get this one? They gotta get something easier.
All right. Sine, cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, and cotangent, okay? I'll write it down here then, because I really don't have room over there, so we cosecant. Okay, we're gonna invert that, right? So what's that gonna be? 2 over the, okay, well, we have a radical in the denominator, what do? Rationalize. So it ends up being 2 square roots of 3 over 3. Gotta do that. Secant, is that one pretty easy?
Yes.
What's it gonna be? 2. Still okay? Cotangent. Okay, so really this is over what? So we end up with 1 over the square root of 3. Same thing as cosecant, we need to rationalize. So we're gonna multiply by radical 3 over radical 3. You end up with the square root of 3 over 3. And there's your 6 trig values for that. Later on, you'll learn that this is really the ratios of a 30, 60, 90. 2x, x square roots of 3, which you might remember from geometry. Questions here?